Not me.
I didn't want you to talk while I was on.
Yeah, I got you.
I forgot you were on IFB. You're the best dressed reporter here, by the way. Do you want me to put your keys in my
Oh,
pocket?
that's okay.
I can put them in my pocket.
No, it's okay.
No, actually, I was at a different shop. And with these lights, let them know Chief is walking this
Okay.
way.
You want to call Jared or
Chief's on his way. Let them know.
Yeah, I am.
Good morning.
Morning, Chief.
Good morning. Morning. Good morning. At approximately 4:05 this morning, there was calls dispatched from this area, which would be Marcus and Farland. Multiple persons had called saying that there was somebody in the street shooting rounds, multiple rounds. Two-man car officers arrived in this block, which is the 4,000 block of Marcus. They see the suspect. They ask the suspect to drop his weapon, at which time he turns toward the officers and fires shots at the police car. There's a ballistic evidence on the police car that indicates that the vehicle was struck by gunfire. The passenger officer returns fire, striking the suspect. The suspect then runs around onto Kossuth, where he collapses. The suspect was taken to an area hospital where he is in critical, stable condition. The weapon that he was carrying, which was a pistol grip type of stock-barreled rifle, was recovered, as well as an additional assault rifle and a pistol, all on the porch in the 4700 block of Kossuth. I saw a minimum of 40 shell casings on the porch area. And again, none of the officers were struck by gunfire, thankfully. And Force Investigative Unit is handling the investigation. Again, I mentioned that there's ballistic evidence on the vehicle, and we're thankful that no officers are injured.
Were any residents injured? You said there were about 40 rounds in that fort.
Yeah, to our knowledge, no other persons were injured at this time. To our knowledge, and we still are investigating and still checking with people on the block. But to our knowledge, no other persons were injured.
So is there any reason, do you guys have any reason why that person was doing that? They were just...
Yeah, right at this point, we don't know the motive behind the shooting, but like I said, again, multiple rounds, shell casings recovered, as well as multiple weapons are recovered as well. So at this point, we don't have a motive for the incident itself.
Chief, could you summarize it one more time for us?
So around 4:05 a.m. this morning, there were multiple calls for shots fired in the area. The area would have been Marcus and Farland. Upon arrival, the officers were in a two-man car. The passenger officer gets out.
They asked the suspect to drop his weapon. He refused to do so, but also turns toward the officers and fires shots at the vehicle. The police vehicle is struck in the hood area, which would be 2 or 3 feet away from the officer's, body. Um, but it is struck. The vehicle is struck on the top side of the car. The officer returns fire, striking the suspect. The suspect runs around the corner in the 4700 block of Kossuth, where he collapses. He's taken into custody. He's a black male in his 30s. He's taken into custody. He's taken to an area hospital where he's listed in critical but stable condition. 3 weapons were recovered. One, the weapon that the suspect was firing, was recovered, as well as 2 additional weapons were covered on the porch, and then multiple shell casings on this porch in the 4700 block of Kossuth. At this point, we don't know that we have no reason to believe there are other suspects involved at this point.
Are you guys knowing the charges that person will be facing for that?
Well, at a minimum, he'll be charged with firing shots at an officer.
Where did officers hit him?
Where did they
hit his body?
Yeah, he was struck in the upper torso.
So, Chief, is there like 2 scenes?
Well, it's a continuous scene. I guess it's around the corner. It's just a few yards away, 30 or 40 yards away from where he was originally engaged with the officers.
This has been a tough year for officers, considering how many of them have been hit. How are you feeling about how this incident went?
Well, I'm certainly very thankful that the officer weren't struck, but at the same time, I mentioned that there was the gunfire did come close to the officer, and so this is just a very challenging time for us. Seem to be more and more brazen activity that the officers are faced with, and so it's a very difficult time to be a police officer. But at the end of the day, these officers are trained, and they seem to handle things accordingly.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, so we just heard from Police Chief John Hayden. Just to recap a little bit about what happened, they received multiple calls about a incident here. When officers got to the scene, the passenger, or the person in the car, refused to get out of the car. That person then fired shots at the officers. The officers then fired shots back, striking the suspect. We know that the person who was hit by those shots then got out of the vehicle, ran, and collapsed. That person is now in critical, stable condition at the hospital. At this time, we know that no officers were hit by any shots. We do know also that there were 3 weapons recovered from that person who is responsible for firing shots from that suspect. Again, this is happening in the Penrose neighborhood a little bit before 5 o'clock this morning. Right now, there are still several police officers on scene doing investigations, and of course, we'll continue to bring you any other updates later on this morning. Follow us at ksdk.com, as well as the 5 on Your Side app. For now, I'll send it back to you in studio. Thanks. Cool.
I don't think he said they were in a vehicle. I thought he said they were in the street when they arrived.